The first time he saw her, he could not believe his eyes. She stood at the edge of the glowing crystal forest, tall and graceful, her skin shimmering like polished silver in the soft light of her world's twin suns. Her hair flowed behind her like liquid starlight, and her eyes were golden, deep and warm, yet filled with a strange wisdom that seemed older than time itself. Every movement she made was delicate, yet filled with power, as if the very ground beneath her recognized her presence. He was only a human, sent to this distant planet to explore, to study, and perhaps to bring back knowledge for Earth. He was trained for danger, for survival in hostile worlds, but he had never been prepared to face something so beautiful, so overwhelming. His heart beat faster than ever, not with fear but with awe and maybe even hope. "Welcome, human," she said, her voice soft and melodic. It was a sound that lingered in the air like a gentle song, as if the planet itself had chosen her to speak. Her lips curved into a small, knowing smile. "I have been expecting you." His mouth went dry. Expecting him? How could she know him? He had not set foot on her world before today. Yet somehow in the depth of her gaze he felt seen. Really seen. Not as a stranger, not as a visitor, but as someone whose soul she could touch without even trying. I don't understand," he said, his voice shaking, though he tried to sound calm. Who are you?" "I am Lysara," she replied, her golden eyes studying him as though reading his very thoughts. "I am the princess of this world. And you, human? You carry something rare, something I recognize." He took a cautious step forward, unsure if he was dreaming. Every instinct in his body screamed that he should be careful, yet every heartbeat told him to stay, to listen, to believe. The air felt different around her, filled with warmth, almost alive. He could hear faint whispers in the breeze, soft voices of the forest, or perhaps just the echo of his own amazement. "Something I recognize?" he repeated, feeling a shiver travel down his spine. I'm just a human, nothing special. "Why would you know me?" Her lips lifted in a gentle smile, and she tilted her head slightly, studying him with an intensity that made his chest tighten. "Names, actions, the smallest choices. They leave marks," she said softly. "I remember them. I remember you." He felt a strange pull in his chest. He had traveled across stars, crossed galaxies, yet nothing in his life had prepared him for this moment. There was something comforting and terrifying in her words, a strange mixture of familiarity and mystery. It felt as if a piece of his childhood, a memory he had long forgotten, had been gently lifted and held in the palm of her hand. "Childhood?" he whispered, almost to himself. "How could you—" She did not answer immediately. Instead, she extended her hand toward him, her glowing fingers hovering in the space between them. It was an invitation, but not just of trust. It was an invitation of connection, a bridge across worlds and species, a silent promise that he was not alone. He looked down at her hand, then back into her eyes. For a moment, the galaxy felt smaller and he felt bigger, as if everything he had been, every choice he had made, had led him to this single instant. His heart beat faster, but not in fear, in wonder, in hope, and he knew, even then, that his life had already begun to change. This was no ordinary meeting. This was a beginning. Days passed, but he could not forget her. Lysara, the alien princess with golden eyes and silver skin, became a presence that lingered in his mind even when he was alone. He wandered the glowing forests and crystal plains of her world, yet every path seemed to lead him back to her. It was as if the planet itself was guiding him, nudging him closer to her light. She did not demand his attention, but somehow he could not stay away. Each time they met, she asked questions, not about his mission, not about Earth, but about him, about his childhood, his dreams, his fears. She spoke with a gentle curiosity that made him feel safe to open up, even to a being he barely understood. "You carry stories inside you," she said one evening as they walked along a river of liquid light that shimmered in blues and golds. "Stories of who you were, who you are, and who you will become. I see them, even the ones you hide from yourself." He felt a shiver of surprise and unease. No one had ever said such things to him before. Not his family, not his friends. He had spent most of his life trying to be practical, trying to survive, trying to fit in. Yet here she was, reading the pieces of him he had carefully hidden. How do you know these things?" he asked, his voice soft, almost trembling. Lysara smiled, tilting her head. "Names, memories, choices, they leave traces. I remember them. I remember you." He froze. "You remember me?" "Yes," she said, her golden eyes glowing softly in the fading light. I remember your childhood name, the name you whispered when you believed in impossible things. The name you almost forgot. Memories long buried came rushing back. He remembered the small garden behind his childhood home, where he used to run barefoot and dream of flying to the stars. He remembered the nights he lay on the grass, staring at the sky, imagining distant worlds. He remembered the sound of his mother calling him by that small, tender name he had stopped using years ago. Tears filled his eyes, and he could not look away from her gaze. Why would you know that? He whispered. Because, Lysara said softly, placing her hand over his, I see the truth in hearts. Even across galaxies I can see the sparks of life, of kindness, of courage. You carry them inside you, and that is why I remember. He felt something shift inside him, a warmth spreading through his chest. For the first time in years he felt seen, not as a human explorer, not as a stranger, but as himself, the person he had been before the world told him he was ordinary. It was terrifying and beautiful all at once. I don't know what to say, he admitted, his voice shaky. You do not need to say anything, Lysara replied gently. I do not judge. I only see. And I am glad to see you. In that moment he realized that connection could be stronger than fear, that trust could grow faster than doubt, and that even the smallest recognition, like remembering a name from long ago, could change a life. As they walked along the glowing river, he found himself speaking, sharing stories of his childhood, his family, the simple joys and sorrows he had almost forgotten. She listened without interruption, her presence a calm light that allowed him to believe in himself again. And as the twin moons rose above the horizon, casting silver and violet across the sky, he understood something he had never believed possible, that even across stars, across worlds, a bond could form strong enough to heal old wounds, to awaken forgotten dreams, and to remind a human heart that it could still shine. For the first time since leaving Earth he felt at home, and it was because she remembered. The joy of connection, however, was fragile. Word of the human explorer spread quickly among Lysara's people, the council of elders who had ruled her world for centuries. They were beings of immense power and wisdom, but they were also cautious, sometimes too cautious. Humans were unpredictable. Humans were dangerous. And humans, they said, could never truly belong among them. One morning, as the golden light of the twin suns spilled across the crystal plains, the council arrived. Their presence was imposing. They moved with authority, their eyes cold and sharp. Lysara stepped forward, standing between them and him, her silver skin glowing with an inner light that seemed to command respect. Your Highness, the council's leader began, his voice firm but wary. You know the rules. No human may remain within our borders without permission. He is a stranger. His people are far from us. His existence here is dangerous. The human's chest tightened. He had expected caution, perhaps curiosity, but not judgment so harsh, so immediate. He felt small, a fragile figure among beings who seemed invincible. And yet when he looked at Lysara, he saw not fear but defiance, courage, and unwavering trust. He is not dangerous, Lysara said, her voice steady and calm. He is here because he is curious, because he carries kindness and courage. He reminds me, and all of us, of something precious we sometimes forget. You cannot judge him by fear alone. The council murmured among themselves, their expressions skeptical. Curiosity does not protect against harm, one elder said. Kindness does not guard against betrayal. He is human. He does not belong here. He felt doubt creep into his heart. Maybe they were right. Maybe he did not belong. He was just a simple human, far from home, surrounded by beings who could move mountains, bend light, and shape reality. How could he ever hope to fit into their world? How could he match their strength, their wisdom, their perfection? Lysara saw his hesitation. She stepped closer and placed a hand gently on his arm. Do not doubt yourself, she whispered. You are here for a reason. You carry something they cannot see yet, but that does not make it less real. Your courage, your heart, your memories, they matter. They make you extraordinary. Her words were like a spark in the darkness. He felt warmth flood his chest, pushing back the cold grip of fear. He remembered the name she had spoken, the name of his childhood, the one he had thought forgotten. That small voice from the past reminded him who he was, and who he could still be. He straightened his back and met the council's gaze. I may be human, he said, his voice shaking at first, then growing stronger. But I am not nothing. I may not be like you, but I can still do what is right. I can still try, and I will prove that I belong here. Not because you allow it, but because I choose to stand here with her and with courage in my heart." The council paused. Some frowned, some looked uncertain, but none spoke immediately. Lysara's golden eyes never left his, a steady reminder that he was not alone. He realized then that the fear he had carried, the doubt that had shadowed him since childhood, was not his enemy. It was a test, a challenge to awaken what he had forgotten, his own strength, his own light. Finally, the council's leader spoke, his tone softer, almost reluctant. "We will observe," he said. "But understand this, any sign of harm, any betrayal, and the human will be sent away. There is no second chance." He nodded, understanding the weight of their words. It was a thin line he had to walk, but for the first time he felt ready. Not perfect, not invincible, but ready. Because he had something the council could not measure. A heart that remembered its courage, a soul that believed, and a bond with Lysara that even the vast distance between stars could not break. And in that moment, he understood something profound. Belonging is not given. It is earned, it is chosen, and sometimes it is reminded by someone who sees the light in you that you thought was lost forever. The next night, Lysara led him to a place he had never seen before, a valley of crystal rivers that shimmered like liquid stars. The ground beneath them glowed faintly with every step, and the air was filled with a soft hum, as if the world itself was alive and listening. He followed her cautiously, unsure of what to expect. "This is where you will face your test," she said, her golden eyes calm yet intense. "Not a test of strength, not of skill, but of courage. Of the heart that still remembers who you truly are." He swallowed hard. Courage? His heart pounded in his chest. He had crossed galaxies, faced storms that could shred ships, survived dangerous planets, but courage of the heart? That was something he had never truly understood. "You must step forward," Lysara continued, raising her hand toward the river that pulsed with colors he could not name. "Do not fear. The river will not harm you unless you doubt yourself. Only by trusting yourself will you pass." He looked at the river. It shimmered with colors that seemed alive, flowing like molten light. The currents twisted in patterns that made his mind dizzy. He could feel the whispers, soft and haunting, as if the river itself was speaking, warning, testing, mocking. Doubt gripped him. "I'm just a human. I do not belong here. What if I fail? What if I disappoint her?" Lysara's hand brushed his arm, grounding him. "Remember your name," she whispered, her voice gentle and full of warmth. "Remember the child you once were, the one who dreamed without fear. That is the courage I see in you." He closed his eyes and felt it. The small, forgotten self that had once run barefoot across Earth's fields, who had gazed at the stars with wonder, who had believed anything was possible. That child was still inside him, waiting. With a deep breath, he stepped forward. His foot touched the glowing river, and a pulse of light ran through him, warm and strange. The river twisted but did not pull him. He stepped again, feeling the liquid light swirl around his ankles. Fear whispered in his mind, but he kept moving, trusting the spark of courage that Lysara had reminded him of. Halfway across, the currents rose higher, swirling faster, trying to unbalance him. Memories of failure, fear, and doubt pressed against him like weight, but he focused on her voice in his mind, her golden eyes, the warmth of her hand when she had first guided him. One step, then another, until finally he reached the other side. When he opened his eyes, Lysara was there, smiling softly. "You have done it," she said. "You have remembered. That is all that was needed." He sank to his knees, exhausted, but not from the river. It was from something deeper, from realizing he had doubted himself for so long, from feeling the power of courage he had always carried but never trusted. "You see," Lysara said, extending her hand, "courage is not about fighting the impossible. It is about facing yourself and choosing to move forward even when fear tries to stop you." He took her hand, feeling her warmth spread through him like sunlight. He understood then that the test was never about the river or the council or her people. It was about him, about finding the strength he had forgotten, about trusting that he was more than a fragile human, that he had a place in this world because of who he was, not despite it. The crystal river pulsed softly, as if acknowledging his victory. He looked up at Lysara and smiled, a mix of relief and wonder and gratitude. She smiled back, golden eyes reflecting the light of the twin moons, and in that moment he felt truly alive. For the first time, he did not feel small. For the first time, he believed he could belong. And it was because she remembered who he was. The night after the test, he could hardly sleep. His mind kept replaying the glowing river, the way the currents had tried to unbalance him, and the warmth of Lysara's hand that had guided him. He felt different, lighter, stronger, but also full of questions he did not yet understand. Lysara found him walking along a ridge that overlooked the city of crystal spires below, their lights twinkling like stars fallen to the ground. She joined him silently, her presence comforting, her golden eyes reflecting both the moons above and the flicker of emotions inside him. "You passed the test," she said softly, breaking the quiet. "But there is something more I need to tell you." He looked at her, curiosity and fear mingling in his chest. "What is it?" She took a deep breath, her gaze steady. "Do you remember when I said I remembered your childhood name?" He nodded. "Yes, I've been trying to understand why. How could you possibly know it?" Lysara smiled, but this time it was tinged with something deeper, something almost sad. "Long ago, your people sent small seeds of kindness into the universe," she explained. "Acts so small they could have been forgotten. A child helping another, a gesture of hope, a choice to dream. They traveled far and wide, carried on invisible threads of energy, and they reached me." He stared at her, unsure he had heard correctly. You remember me because of—" "What?" "Because of you," she said, her voice gentle but certain. "Even as a child, your heart left a mark that could be felt across galaxies. It reached me even in my world. And when I saw you here, I recognized it immediately." Tears filled his eyes. He had never thought of his small actions, his simple choices, as anything meaningful. He had survived hardships, faced loneliness, and tried to live without leaving a trace. And yet, here he was, recognized by a being from a world he had only dreamed of visiting because of the humanity he had carried quietly all his life. "Why? Why me?" he whispered, his voice trembling. "I am just a human. I'm ordinary. I've made mistakes, hurt people, failed. How could you see something worth remembering?" Lysara reached out and brushed a lock of hair from his forehead. "Because it is not about being perfect," she said softly. "It is about courage, kindness, and the choice to believe in something greater than yourself. That is what makes humans remarkable, and that is why I remembered you. You are the one who dared to dream, even when no one was watching. You are the one who never truly forgot hope." He felt a warmth spread through him, a mixture of awe, gratitude, and disbelief. He had crossed the galaxy expecting adventure, knowledge, maybe survival, but he had never expected to be seen, not for what he could do, not for what he looked like, but for the quiet goodness he had carried all along. I don't know what to say," he whispered, voice thick with emotion. "You don't need to say anything," she replied, her smile gentle and unwavering. "Just know that what you are, who you are, matters, and it always will." He looked out at the city below, shimmering under twin moons, and realized something profound. All the doubts he had carried, all the fears and insecurities had been shadows hiding the truth. That truth was simple yet powerful. Humans could leave marks that no distance, no difference could erase. Humans could shine even across the stars. Lysara's hand found his again, and he held it tightly, not wanting to let go. In that moment, the universe seemed smaller, warmer, and full of possibility. He understood something he had never thought possible. That being remembered, truly remembered, could give courage to the most ordinary heart. And for the first time, he felt the weight of insignificance lift. He was not just a human. He was someone who mattered. Someone who could make a difference, even in a galaxy full of wonders far beyond his imagination. He looked at Lysara, her golden eyes reflecting the twin moons, and smiled, a smile full of hope, strength, and gratitude. And she smiled back as if she had always known he would. Days turned into weeks. Yet he never grew tired of Lysara's world. Every morning, the twin suns painted the crystal plains in colors he had no names for, and every night, the moons cast silver light that made the rivers shimmer like flowing stars. But what truly made this world extraordinary was her. They explored together. She showed him forests where trees sang softly when touched, and flowers that glowed brighter with laughter. She led him to cliffs where wind sculpted the clouds into shapes that seemed alive, and valleys where every stone hummed with ancient memory. And through it all, she never treated him as a stranger, as a human who did not belong. She treated him as a companion, as someone who mattered, as someone whose heart could shine even in the vastness of her perfect world. He, in turn, shared pieces of earth he thought he had left behind. He taught her simple human games, laughed at silly jokes, told stories of his childhood dreams. She listened with fascination, golden eyes wide, sometimes tilting her head in surprise at the simplicity of human joy. And he realized that she too carried a spark of curiosity and wonder, just like he had as a child waiting to be awakened. One evening they sat beside a river of liquid light. The air was warm, carrying a faint hum that felt almost like music. He glanced at her, unsure of how to put the feeling into words. I never imagined I could feel like this, he admitted softly. Not just about this world, but about me. About being human. Lysara smiled, her golden eyes reflecting the moons above. Because you are not just a human, she said gently. You are a human who remembers. You carry courage and kindness, hope and wonder. Those things, they shine brighter than any power my people possess. That is why you belong here. That is why you matter to me. His heart raced, not with fear, but with something deeper, something he had not allowed himself to feel for a long time. Trust. Faith. The quiet joy of being seen. I don't know if I can ever repay you, he said. You do not need to repay me, she said softly, taking his hand in hers. You only need to be yourself. That is enough. In those weeks, he began to see himself through her eyes. He realized that being human was not a weakness. It was a gift. The small acts of courage, the quiet kindness, the laughter and hope, all of it mattered. He had thought he was ordinary, fragile, insignificant, but she reminded him of the truth. Humans could shine, even in the darkest corners of the universe, and even among beings far more powerful than themselves. One night, under the glow of both moons, he looked at her and whispered, "Thank you, for seeing me, for remembering me." She reached out, brushing a strand of hair from his face, and smiled. "I do not need to thank you," she said softly. "It is not just me who is grateful. You remind all of us that life is not just about strength or perfection. It is about heart. It is about courage. It is about believing in the light inside ourselves, even when it seems small." He felt tears prick his eyes. She had no idea how much those words healed him, how much they reminded him of the person he had always wanted to be. And in that moment he understood something he had never realized before. True connection, true belonging was not about being the strongest or the smartest. It was about trust, understanding, and remembering that even the smallest heart could make a difference. And as he held her hand, feeling the warmth of her touch and the certainty in her gaze, he knew that he had found something far more precious than any discovery he could have made across galaxies. He had found a bond, a connection, and perhaps in some way a home. The day came when the council would decide his fate. The human, once uncertain, once afraid of being ordinary, now stood tall beside Lysara. The city of crystal spires gleamed under the twin suns, casting reflections that danced like tiny stars across the smooth ground. The council's elders arrived, moving with authority and expectation, their expressions unreadable. Lysara stepped forward, her silver skin glowing softly. Her golden eyes met the council's, and in that gaze he felt something he had never felt before: confidence. She believed in him, and that belief, more than anything, strengthened him. "He is no longer just a human," she said, her voice steady and clear. "He carries courage, kindness, and the heart of someone who never forgot hope. He reminds us of what we sometimes forget, that even the smallest acts of goodness can echo across worlds. He belongs here not by birth but by heart." The council murmured among themselves, some skeptical, some hesitant, but they could not deny the truth shining in her eyes, nor the quiet strength in his stance. He no longer seemed fragile or uncertain. He seemed alive with a light they could feel, even if they could not see it. One elder spoke slowly. "We will observe him, but understand this. Any sign of betrayal, any action against our world, and he will be sent away." He nodded, not with fear but with calm certainty. "I understand," he said, "but I am not here to harm. I am here to learn, to grow, and to protect if I can. And I will do my best every day to honor this trust." Lysara smiled, and he felt her pride wrap around him like a shield. He realized then that the council's decision, while important, mattered less than the courage he had found within himself. He was no longer waiting for approval. He was standing in his own light. Later, as the council departed, Lysara took his hand. Her golden eyes shone with warmth and something deeper, something that made his chest ache with a strange, wonderful feeling. "You have proven more than courage," she whispered. "You have shown heart. You have shown that humans can shine anywhere, even among the stars." He swallowed, the weight of everything he had felt in these weeks pressing gently on him. I never imagined that I could matter like this, that I could belong." "You do belong," she said simply, her hand steady in his, "because you never forgot who you were. Because you remembered hope even when it seemed lost. Because you are human, and that is enough to make a difference." For a long moment, he looked at her, and for the first time, he saw not just an alien princess, but a friend, a guide, someone who believed in him without hesitation. And he understood something profound. Humans could not only survive the stars, they could inspire, they could heal, they could shine in ways that no power or technology could measure. He felt tears prick his eyes, not from sadness but from a deep, overwhelming gratitude. He had traveled galaxies seeking knowledge, adventure, maybe survival, and he had found something far greater: acceptance, recognition, and the reminder that even the smallest human heart could matter. Lysara leaned closer, her golden eyes soft, and whispered again, "I remember your name. I remember who you truly are. And that is why I knew you could shine here." He smiled, a mix of relief, joy, and wonder. "Then I will not forget either," he said. "I will not forget who I am, and I will not forget us, this world, this chance." And under the twin suns and the silver moons, amidst a city of crystal spires and rivers of light, he finally understood what it meant to belong, to be seen, to matter. He was a human, and that was enough. And in her gaze he felt something else, something eternal, that even across galaxies, even among beings far greater than themselves, humans could shine. For the first time in his life he believed it, and it was real.